So, I won't need to introduce myself, I know everybody who's here.
Would you,
Pretty
but
much.
for the camera?
I am Chuck Pisa, and I am an esoteric healer. I am a body work therapist, and I do multiple modalities of energy, one of which is human design, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight. And human design is an interesting system. It is relatively new to the world. I'm going to go through a brief introduction for those of you who were not here for the last one. So human design is a type of self-discovery system that kind of lets you get to know who you are. It incorporates a bunch of different systems from the East and the West. Actually kind of takes the best of all things and incorporates them into one type of system. It's updated to quantum physics and epigenetics. So this will incorporate concepts of your DNA and so forth. So the big description of this that's very simple, the big takeaway is that this type of system gives you the owner's manual to who you are and how your system works that you were never given. And that's what this attempts to give. It's a very holistic perspective on the individual. This is what a human design chart looks like, and it's a combination of several things, one of which are all these little geometric shapes here are centers or chakras. But there are 9 chakras, not 7, so we've grown 2 chakras in the last 300 years. And so this is basically what a human design chart looks like, and it's got these channels, which would be similar to meridian systems. Similar to meridians where they carry the energy between the chakras. But each one you'll see has a number at each end, and these are important because there's 64 of those. Those relate to the 64 codons of your DNA. So this is where the genetic parts come in. So each of these, numbers would, just like in the DNA that's in your body, a system is either coded to be on or off. Similar, that's what's similar here. Those that are highlighted, as you see here, would be gates or codons that are turned on, and ones that are not are off. Okay. Now that's deeper than we're going to go into tonight, but I just want to put that out. This is what my chart happens to look like, and it tells you that I'm a projector, tells you what kind of profile I have, and even tells you what kind of authority I run on, how I make my decisions. So every chart contains 9 centers, 36 channels, and 64 gates. So that's the dynamic of how it is built. And it's a very, as Keaton here says, he often tells people that to imagine a human design chart as an intricate, precious piece of jewelry, bedazzling craftsmanship that has been created by the universe. And that's what you are, these bedazzling jewels. So the centers are chakras that regulate the flow of energy. The channels flow the energy and enhance and shape and modify the energy in very precise qualities, traits, and abilities of the individual. The gates represent the DNA of your true nature, as I said, with some that are turned on and some that are turned off.
Does that change over a lifetime, or
No,
they're
but
either
there
on
is
or they're off?
but through mutation, the particular gate is activated, actually pretty much can be activated daily or weekly. So there are issues that can come up. We see this, when I use this, as I get deeper into this, there are health things. We're not going to be going into the health aspects of this tonight. It just gets too deep. But yes, you can see things that happen. And you can mutate a gate so that you become the higher frequency of it as opposed to the lower frequency of it. In other words, its expression. So I just say here that it's helpful because it's kind of helps pinpoint your intrinsic nature. It also can detail for you why you click with some people, not others. This helps explain that. It reveals your underlying nature, your preferences for things in life, personality traits, strengths, weaknesses, blind spots can show up in here, which is very, very helpful. Your abilities and what your built-in chemistry is, and how and why you interact with certain people and connect, and how you connect with other people. So the bigger thing is too that it can help you explain how to make decisions that result in much greater happiness and fulfillment. That's one of the bigger takeaways. So how can this show up in your life? Well, it can show up in your relationships, as I said, determining the dynamics between people, show you whether there's synergy, conflict, or maybe nothing at all, like a neutral thing. In family and home, it explains differences between siblings and highlights practical and emotional interactions between them. Also helps explain dynamics between parents and children, and husband and wife. In the workplace, it illustrates to employers or the clients the different natural abilities that exist within both. So this is a kind of a vital tool for improving businesses. It's a very good application for that.
It's been working great for us.
Yes, it has.
We're very grateful.
In social situations, it makes you aware of the magnetisms that are at play and why you're drawn to certain people and repelled by others. See, I don't update this. You may not remember this, but my last time I presented this slide, I had repealed. So it basically tries to answer this question, who am I? Which is a deep fundamental question for all of us. So what are the 5 types? So the generator, the manifesting generator, the manifestor, the projector, and the reflector. So the sheet that I gave you that we'll talk about in a second has 4 because these 2 here are generally linked together. They're both generators. This just happens to be some critics or I shouldn't say critics, but some people who apply this information only deal with 4, and they say everyone's a generator, and the manifesting generator is still a generator, so it doesn't matter. But there are others, I parse it out because I'm an energy worker, so the subtleties of the energy are important to me, the differences, so that's why I parse it out. So this is what the auras look like, because when we're talking about energy types, we're talking about the energetic field, the human energy field of the person. So a generator, which is what most everybody in this room here is,
Yay!
is an open and enveloping aura that surrounds them. So it is both open and it's enveloping. So it's almost like it's breathing continually, okay? The single projector here has a focus on absorbing. My aura is an aura that can go in and know someone really, really well, or a thing, or an idea. My aura projects into something. Reflectors are very rare. We'll talk about it.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Is that happening with us now?
Yeah.
As a projector, that's part of what we experience in being in the energy field of a projector. Your energy is like,
Yeah,
does that happen when you teach?
Well, a person who's on the receiving end of a projector doesn't generally know that person.
But it's me.
Okay. But I'll tell you my experience with a generator, as I'm going to show you in a minute. Generators don't know themselves. I beg your pardon. You just see you're saying that. The purpose of the projector. The purpose of the projector is to know you, and then if I get asked by you, then I can tell you what I know or discovered in you.
I just meant like while you are teaching, does your field come out to us?
It can. Yeah, it is. It's a natural thing. I don't control it. It's not a controllable thing. It's part of the natural dynamics of the energy. Right.
Just don't be sharing my deep, dark secrets with
No,
anybody.
right. Well, it's not that type of thing. It's not like mind reading. you know. But the manifester, which is one of the more rare types, has a very interesting, it's got a closed and repelling aura. They are a self-contained entity. So they're closed. It's a closed system. Okay? They don't need anybody, and we'll get into parts of that. The reflector has a sampling aura. And it's a very interesting type of aura. So I just wanted to show you the pictures of what these things look like, you know, to give you some idea. Now, if we look at the sheet that I handed you, what's on there is,
Oh, it's right behind you on the, right behind you.
okay, actually I'll just use this.
Okay.
So, generators, including the MG, including the manifesting generator, is the majority of the population. This says 66.65 is actually closer to 70%. So 70% of the population are generators. Okay, they're the ones who built the world.
Thank you.
You know, or who are building the world. Projectors are a small part of the population, only about 20% of the population. Manifestors are also a very small group, less than 10% of the population. And Ruben's a projector too. Reflectors are the rarest type, about 1% of the population. Very, very rare, and should be cherished. And so the generators have, as I said, an open aura. They have a certain strategy, and we'll be talking about these strategies in a minute. The generator is what we call an energy type of being. They have a defined sacral center. So, and the sacral center is a motor of energy. It is like the motor, like in a car, that runs the car. Okay. The manifesting generator has the same thing. Okay.
Chuck, could you just a tiny bit, could you scoot over so that you're in the frame? That's perfect.
Okay.
It doesn't even need to be that much, it's just.
Okay. Just want to be in there.
I thought you
voice from the.
I thought you might like to be in your video.
A voice calling down from the bottom.
We'll put tape on the floor next time.
Yes.
When you say the sacral center, you're talking about the Dantian?
The Dantian. Well, we're talking about specifically the sacral center, because the Dantian is really, I mean, depending on who you talk to, it can be the root center and the basic center.
Okay.
You know, my understanding really the Dantian is the sacral center that's right here. You
That's
know,
correct.
the center part that's the center of gravity. Ruben is a Qigong and Tai Chi teacher.
I've heard about you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so nice to
And
meet
he's
you.
heard about you.
Oh, I'd like to meet you.
Thank you.
So projectors, as I said, have a focused aura. They do not have a energy center. Okay, they're not an energy type being. Manifestors have a closed and repelling. They also do not have an energy center, a motor. The motor's there, but nothing's working. You know, they have a sacral center, but it doesn't run the car. And then a reflector also has, they've got a very interesting aura. They also have no sacral center. So the only type of beings, generators and manifesting generators, are the only types that have a sacral center, and where they have motor, and therefore they have energy to do things. Okay. What happens with generators, if everything's run hunky-dory, they feel satisfied. They do something, if they do something, they should feel satisfied, and I would drop the word should. Satisfaction is what is felt. If they are not following their strategy, then if they do something, they will feel frustration. So frustration is a red flag for a generator that something's not right here. I'm not doing something right, I'm not in my strategy. I'm not following the right constraints for my energy body. For a projector, if they're feeling successful, then they're running their pattern well. If they're feeling bitterness, that's their red flag. Okay, so a projector will feel bitter about things if something's not running properly. For a manifester, they will feel at peace. And what happens with manifestors is they get really angry. Anger is their thing if they are not following their design properly. Okay. Reflector will be surprised if they're doing the right thing in their work, and they will feel disappointment if they are not. Okay. So there's a whole bunch more here which we won't go into, although there is an entire part about children by design. Most of us are older. I don't think anyone of us here have any children at the moment. But design of children is really important. This is the most at-risk person. Projectors are highly at risk when they are young because their parents do not understand how to raise them properly.
What are their needs then? If you don't
Well,
mind my asking.
projectors, well, I'll get into it, you'll see why.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about projectors, why that is. So your strategy, in other words, if you now we know what your type is, you're either a generator, a projector, a manifestor, manifesting generator, or reflector. You know one of those types. There's a strategy to follow if you know your type. If you know how you're built, then you know how you should run this machine. So each energy type suggests a unique strategy for that type. And it gives you key information about how to make the right choices and how to recognize when you're on the right path. And then when you get off the path, same thing with the car, when you're on the dirt road or if you're on the highway. Following your strategy offers you the opportunity to experience events, circumstances that are correct for you, while not following them may bring you events and experiences that are not beneficial to you, and you may not help you fulfill your personal destiny. So, like I said, either on the road or off the road. So the first one we'll talk about is the generator, since it's the largest number. And this is what a generator's basic aura, or the pattern of chakras in them would look like. What's critical is this guy here in red. That's the sacral center. And generators have that, and that's their energy center. That's their motor. So they have consistent, powerful, unlimited energy to do things. Okay. Then they have a variety of other centers that may be lit up or not, but they have at least that. And the generator basically is know yourself and respond. That's going to be their part of their strategy. Know yourself and respond. So the strengths of a generator are they're highly energetic. They are masters of their work. They have sustainable, consistent energy all the time. And they are self-aware. Strengths. Now, what I mean by strengths and weaknesses is this is like a polarity. You can be on a continuum here. So this doesn't mean that it's an either-or situation. This may mean that there are sometimes you are self-aware, and there are sometimes when you're not, when you might be feeling stuck with something. You know, you may be feeling energetic, or maybe sometimes you're feeling frustrated. So these are kind of like the most positive aspect, and then maybe a lower frequency aspect of the experience. Okay, so that's what I want you to think of. That these would be the high frequency running of your strategy and your type. This would be the lower frequency. So, like I say, they can feel often frustrated. Sometimes they quit too soon. Sometimes they have this feeling can't just make it happen, or can feel stuck. Okay. So generators have tremendous energy, and it's, as I said, sustainable, and they're the only type who is designed to work. I'll let that sink in. The only type that's designed to work. They must find the right work and the right life force opportunities to feel happy. So for generators, the big deal is finding the right thing for them, the right application of their energy that they're gonna be putting out there. Generators will feel frustrated if they don't find the right work and the right expression for their life force energy. Okay. Now, this can be big things like a job, career, a major relationship, marriage. It can work with belief systems actually also, so things that are non-material. Frustration is the big key, because as I said, it's telling you that's when you get your red flag. That's when the red flag is thrown on the field for the penalty to let you know you run off the road. Generators can be happy, fulfilling life when they let life show up for them, as opposed to going out and making it happen. So that is probably the key phrase. Letting life show up. Their strategy is to wait to respond. So they have to wait for life to show them something. And when life shows them something, then they can choose to respond to it and live happily ever after. However, if they have the mistaken impression that they can just go out and do something and make it happen, then they can very often find themselves up here in the frustration thing. The greatest fear of a generator doer is that if they just sit and wait, nothing will happen, or nothing will get done. The greatest fear of a generator. Oh my God, I got 5 minutes. What can I do in this 5 minutes? I need to be doing something. So that is one of the things that works for generators. The geometry of the generator is that if they stop and wait, see, this is the beauty of the universe. If they just stop and wait, something will come to them very, very quickly. But they have to stop. They have to pause. They have to wait and let the universe bring them something. They're not in charge of the universe. It's a bigger plan. There's somebody else who's in charge of what's going on, and not us. The generator strategy: wait to respond and know thyself. Generators will feel pressured to initiate and follow through, but in reality, their strength is on the follow through, not initiation. Generators are not designed to start anything. I know.
The time.
I know. They're not designed to initiate or start something. Okay, and we can talk more. We can do part 2 of our session. They are designed to follow through on a project and get her done. That's what that motor's for. That's what all that energy is for. Okay. The typical generator gets an idea. By typical, I mean someone who may be on the lower frequency of their generator, because we have some high functioning generators here. But the typical generator, or maybe normal might have been a better word, gets an idea, fantasizes about what it will look like, then goes into the world to try and bring it into fruition, make it happen. Okay, and that's not very good for them. For generators, the only things that prove fulfilling are those that duly arrive after they have exercised patience. Then what's crucial is this. Once it shows up to them, once they've been patient and they've waited and the universe or the world brings them something, then they get to respond, and this is what's critical for them. So their response is governed by the sacral gut response, signaling who or what warrants their commitment. This is where they get to say yes or no, yay or nay, to whatever it is that's coming up for them. This is the core secret of their inner being, one that opens the doorway for what's right for them. And I'll read this little story, I think, that illustrates this. That's a client. So Gail's a generator and has learned more and more to tune into her gut response. She was once being pursued by 4 potential suitors and was torn about to whom she should commit. After a human design reading, she needed to to distance herself from the fog of her fears and presumptions, none of which played a part in her natural gut response. She stood in her bedroom, looked in the mirror, and created a yes-no question for her gut to answer. So you talk to your gut, and you ask yes or no questions. One by one, she named the 4 men. Should I go out with Doug? And she felt the for no. Should I go out with Marshall? Again, she felt the Should I go out with Michelle? Once more, Finally, she came to Nick and felt a clear, There was her yes answer. Somewhere deep in her being, Nick resonated with her, and this was her clear guidance to give him a chance. So that's a classic example of how that interchange works for a generator.
How'd that work out?
It worked out pretty good. So now
Oh, yeah?
I don't know, the author put in there. So that sacral center is also, all generators and manifesting generators have that thing that they can call on and ask yes or no questions of, and then get the correct response. Okay, it's an internal mechanism. It's actually a sound mechanism, but most people tend to feel it at a kinesthetic sense. That's the old thing. I have a gut feeling about this.
Mhm.
My little graphic of the person, yelling, All right, so the MG, manifesting generators, okay? The difference between them and the regular generator is they have this, generators all have this, but what the manifesting generator is different is the manifesting generator has strong cords or channels of energy running to the throat center. And the throat center is what? It's the creative center. It's the creative center, the higher creative center. It's where ideas come in and things, and then you get to express them. Okay. So a manifesting generator, they're energetic. The difference here is that they can do many things at once. They're good at finding shortcuts. They're self-aware, and they have sustainable energy. If they're in their inversion or the lower frequency side, they will feel anger and frustration. They're not doing their thing, anger and frustration. So anger comes from the manifesting side of them, and frustration comes from the generator side of them. So manifesting generators can have a double whammy. They can get 2 red flags if they're off the path. They can skip important steps because they're so sure they got to get to the end. They're so energetic, they can sometimes skip important steps. They also try to make things happen. So, like a generator, they're looking at the outcome and not waiting properly. They hate waiting. And the interesting thing is they don't always finish what they start. Okay, so it's an interesting thing that MGs have. So MGs are a special type. They're designed to do multiple things at one time. Usually this is doing multiple things at one time, however, that is in their makeup, but for the average manifesting generator, what actually happens is this can be a great cover-up to disguise the fact that they have initiated several projects and they're working very hard to make them successful, instead of in spite of not having responded, because they didn't respond properly. They just started all these several projects. So what it does is it makes them look like they're doing multiple things at once. Oh my God, I'm a great multitasker. Look at me, But in reality, it's a cover-up, okay? Because they didn't really wait to respond to the things. Now, to most of us, generators and projectors, a manifesting generator, when they're at work, is kind of an amazing thing to watch. That's why I'm sorry Kira wasn't here. But they can appear to be all over the place, but they are uniquely capable of getting more done than most people. Now, their strategy is to visualize and inform. That's what they're designed to do, visualize and inform. So they respond, they envision, they reprocess, they inform, and then they act. Here's the one where they get into trouble. Sometimes they don't tell the other people around them what they're doing. And that's the problem. MG should try on the ideas first in their imagination and visualize an outcome. Then they have to sit back and wait, just like the generator, okay, before taking any action. Because the society is biased towards manifesting, both MGs and generators often believe that they are the manifester type, that they can just think up something and go do it. And there's only one type that can do that, which we haven't done yet, which is the manifester. That's the only type that is a pure energy type, that's closed system, that can do that. Okay. The MG is prone to feeling anger and frustration as a result of not waiting before taking the action involved. MGs must also inform, like manifestors, in order to stabilize the energy around them and decrease the resistance that they could feel from others. So what we have is manifesting generator is plowing ahead in a project, and they're doing all this stuff. Meanwhile, they're not telling their coworkers what they're doing. So what this does is produces resistance from others around them, because they don't either understand or they fear or whatever. And that's part of what happens. So they run the risk of being very, very busy, doing nothing, and moving so quickly that they have a tendency to skip over steps. So leapfrogging is very common in manifesting generators, especially in the workplace.
Sounds like they're not team players.
Well, they actually are the best of team players, and we'll see that in a minute, but when they're off, when they're not following your design, they act like a manifester who is not a team player. So you're right about that. If they lean and think that they're a manifester, then they're going to think they're not a team player. But in reality, MGs make the most awesome team players, as we'll see. Most MGs feel that the world doesn't move fast enough for them. And for most, it would be good to remember that most people are not able to do as much or move as fast. So if manifestors could remember that, they can please be patient with the rest of us. Manifestors, we just have to ask them to be patient with us poor generators and projectors and reflectors. So the manifestor. So they have the closed and repelling aura. Their design, their strategy is to inform. That's it. All they have to do is tell people what they're doing. Now their strengths are they're energetic, but not only they're energetic, but now these guys are driven. They're powerful, they're very influential, they're very successful, they're impulsive, and they're also very mysterious because they have the closed aura. You don't know what they're doing. Okay? On the weakness side, they can be very angry and irritable. They can be very self-absorbed people. They're not a team player. As we said, they can be impatient and they can be secretive. So that's on the low frequency side if they're not really following their design properly. The manifestor is constantly manifesting in their mind. Ideas are constantly coming in and churning, and this is what they are. This is what they're designed to do. When a manifestor gets an idea, if they choose to, they just do it, and they can do it quite well. They're the only energy type that can do something on their own, because they have all the energy in the world to do it. They don't need anybody else. They don't have to wait. They can just do it, and it's because that sacral center is connected to the throat center and a couple other energy centers. So they have everything in place. They're like a self-contained chemistry plant. They don't need any outside things. So the only type that's pure energy. Secretly, all other types are conditioned to believe that we're manifestors. So generators think they're manifestors, projectors think that they're manifestors, manifesting generators think that they're manifestors, and sometimes a reflector can, although reflectors are pretty pure beings, so it's a conditioning that goes on, and it's learned usually at an early age. And part of our society says this, hey, just do it. Nike impounded that into our ears and psyches forever, for years. We are told as children to go out and make things happen, and for most of this becomes frustration, because going out and make things happen is not a proper strategy. Despite their tremendous initiating energies, manifestors are not able to work sustainably. A 9-to-5 job will be overwhelming and cause them to feel angry. They don't have consistent energy. Okay, so only I made confusion because only the generator or manifesting generator have that mode of the sacral center. Manifestors don't have that. Manifestors are really designed to come up with the idea and inform others. And then the generators take that idea and run with it.
Working with Imagineers
Uh-huh.
who are just brilliantly creative, their minds are doing this mine included, I have to say that, but I'm not technically a manifestor, but when you work with a team that's like, okay, you've got to come up with a new attraction, a new movie or whatever, and they just do.
Mhm.
So are they pulling?
Well, my
Outside.
guess is in that group you had a lot of manifesting generators. I mean, they're probably mostly generators. If the standard population curve
Right.
was the same, as we're going to see in our business, it's not going to be the same. That's one of the interesting things at Longevity Wellness. It won't be the standard curve. Okay, so it'll be interesting. But if that standard curve applied, you'd have more generators and manifesting generators. My guess in that kind of environment would be a lot more manifesting generators. Okay, because they're much, they're creative with the ideas that are coming in. Because someone else set a deadline, that could be what you're waiting to respond to. That's the universe, so to speak, coming to you, and you wait, and then someone delivers to you. Okay, here's your timeline. You guys gotta imagine this by such and such a timeline, and then they go, oh, great. Then they can take the ball and run.
I'm trying to figure out where Walt Disney would have fit in here, because he
I think
he really
I've seen
saw-
his thing. I think he was a projector.
Really?
I believe I've seen, someone's done his chart. And at least that's what I recollect. So the manifestor's strategy is to inform, to prevent themselves from burning out, and they can also be big miscommunicators, manifestors, because it's closed door. They don't think they have to talk to anybody. So what's prevalent with them is they need to inform others of their actions. A manifestor can soften their energy and harness it to serve by taking note of the people around them who will be impacted by their actions, and then just telling them what they might expect. So if a manifestor can do that, if I go do this, this is what's going to happen to you. I just wanted you to know. They don't have to take their feedback. If I tell Ray that I'm going to do this, I'm a manifestor, and I tell Ray I'm going to go do this, I don't have to, and Ray objects, I don't have to listen to that. I've got a closed door. I don't care what he thinks. Okay? In this pure example, I actually do